All right, go ahead.
All right, guys. Welcome to Endgame Live. If you're here with us, thank you. We see that view count, subscriber count keeps going up. Let's keep it going. Spread the word. I know there's a couple of other Game Day Live Q&A type of things. Guys, I guarantee you nobody spends as much time getting ready as we do, and we're here to help you out each and every week before kickoff. We're going to talk about injuries. We're going to talk about a little bit about our start sit that we go over each and every week. And don't forget that today is the day, if you've been following us all week, somebody's going to get a Pat Mahomes signed plaque from the NFL shop. We have that giveaway. You have to be a subscriber, of course. It's not too late. If you haven't subscribed already, you do it right now. Okay. So we're here to talk about all the news you need to know heading into, what is it, week 7 already? I feel like the season's already halfway over and we barely started. It's going to be fast and furious, just one of those years. And you know what? This week we thought it was kind of quiet at the beginning, and oh no, the chaos has already started. I think by the time the year ends, there's going to be like none of the running backs you took in the first 2 or 3 rounds are going to be playing. Like this is how it is. All right. So start with the big headlines. And I think right now we're going to have to talk about Aaron Jones, sadly, who I had, I think, number 2 in my running back rankings this week. And Chris, I think you had him as your must start, your first must start. It was such a smash spot that, of course, he had to get hurt in practice midweek. It couldn't just be that, we just roll him out there and have no worries. The latest I'm hearing is he might play, but he might not. So that's really helpful. Chris, do you have anything going on that you think could help us with that? Because as far as I know, Aaron Jones, they saying that he, I don't even know. We keep hearing he might not play. That he could play if he wants to, but they don't want to push it. So even if he does play, he'll be limited. It's just a mess. At this point, I just had to take him out of my lineup. I mean, because it doesn't sound good.
Yeah, the interesting thing is apparently the report this morning was that he traveled with the team, which means there's a chance. But historically, Green Bay has been very cautious with their players, and rightly so. So I still don't think he's going to play. Now, the good news is it's the early games, so you'll know before the games kick off whether he's in or out. Obviously, if he doesn't play, Jamal Williams is a great pivot. A.J. Dillon in deeper leagues is a guy to look at as well. But I do feel like he's probably not going to play. That's my gut.
And the worst thing will be if he does play and then gets like 5 carries, right? Or if he plays and he's looked great in the first quarter and then he like injures his calf and they take him out and that's it. So that's the risk you run. It's not even so much if he plays, but if he plays, what will happen? So you're almost better off if he does get ruled out. If you had Jamal Williams as an insurance policy, definitely I would start him instead of Aaron Jones. I would start him probably anyways, because as we mentioned, Houston is the worst against running backs. This is a great spot. It would have been a smash spot for Aaron Jones. A.J. Dillon is a sneaky play. Not going to lie. He hasn't hardly gotten any. The only action he's gotten this year really has been in, garbage time, right? The fourth quarter of a blowout either way. This might be the time where they show him off. So yeah, I'd focus on A.J. Dillon. Also, if I had him, not a bad last second pivot. And then Joe Mixon is the other big one, another first round running back who is out. Thank God they ruled him out early enough. So if you have your Gio Bernard in his lovely stash, then good job stashing the stash. Is he a must start for you, Chris? You have to have Gio in your lineup?
I mean, probably. It depends on your other options, but he's like a top 15 running back for me this week. Him and Jamal Williams are top 15 running backs this week if Jones and, well, we know Mixon is out, but if Jones is out, both of them top 15 running backs for me this week.
Okay, so there you go. That's what we've come to. Jamal Williams and Gio Bernard are must-start top 15 running backs. That is why you handcuff, right? Insurance policies are actually pretty valuable. Some of the guys that are out, you probably heard Michael Thomas still out, so hopefully you still don't have him in your lineup. But kind of surprising, midweek, Emmanuel Sanders also out. So I guess roll out your Traquan Smith.
I guess if you're desperate,
if you're into that kind of thing, I mean,
he's got the upside, but he's also got the risk. So,
yeah, I mean that's the thing with Traquan. You can assume, oh well, he's obviously going to get a ton of targets. That's not how the Saints roll. Okay, so the Carolina defense mentioned this earlier in the week. Actually really good against wide receivers, surprisingly, allowing the fewest points per reception compared to opponents' average on wide receivers. better than the Bears even. So I don't really even trust Traquan Smith. It's just going to be Alvin Kamara show, really. That's what it's going to be. But you could go with Traquan Smith if you don't have better options. Jamison Crowder, thought you could depend on someone in that Jets offense. You were wrong. He is doubtful. The last I'm saying, I think maybe he's officially out as of right now. But yeah, you got to get Crowder out. Now, Denzel Mims is coming back, but I don't think we're going to see him, get too many targets. But Rashad Perriman came back last week, looked pretty good. That's somebody you could potentially stick in your third receiver spot. So think about Perriman instead of Crowder. Or you could think about just not playing any Jets because they're Jets. Now, as far as Sam Darnold, the latest I heard also, Chris, is that he's in. Is that still true? Is it going to be Darnold at quarterback?
Yeah, I believe so. I haven't heard anything to the contrary. So yes, I believe it's Sam Darnold back in at quarterback.
All right. So if that inspires confidence, then hey, I'm not saying start Sam Darnold. Don't start Sam Darnold anywhere, even in 2 quarterback leagues. But that, with Perriman, there could be a connection there. When he's one of those guys that one play could make his day, right? Also out, John Brown, deep threat there in Buffalo. He's just been hurting all year. Gabe Davis is actually a smart pivot there, and also Cole Beasley, because all of their tight ends are out, right? Dawson Knox is out, Lee Smith, all the tight ends that were in contact with him. Not sure about Tyler Kroft. I think he might still be playing. He might be the only tight end. So that might be a sneaky play if you're in a really deep league and desperate for tight ends, but that would be pretty desperate. And then Austin Hooper, you might have heard, is also out. Any confidence David Njoku here? You think they're going to showcase him because of the trade deadline? Maybe see what they can get?
I do like Njoku as a sneaky tight end play, especially in DFS. He's only 3K on DraftKings. I've got him in my DFS lineup, so I like him as a sneaky play.
And that's actually a good point. I thought about rolling him out in one of the DK lineups because of the price. Harrison Bryant might actually get some targets too. He's been getting targeted more than Njoku. You think Njoku would get more so because they want to trade him, or actually he wants them to trade him. But and then I don't know if this matters. Sammy Watkins is out. You hopefully haven't been starting him. McCall Hardman could see more targets, but you know what? We say that all the time and it doesn't happen. So to me, this really doesn't mean too much. Let's get to the good news. Who's in? DeAndre Hopkins. No question now he's going to play. Julio Jones, also no question he's going to play. So it's nice to see those 2 guys we can count on. AJ Brown and Jonnu Smith. I know there was a lot of question about Smith after last week. So if you spend some fab on Anthony Firkser, sorry about that. You can, flush that fab down the toilet. It wasn't worth much unless Brown or Smith gets hurt again. But Justin Jackson was also questionable, and he's a full go now, so we don't have to worry about that. So what about, do you like Jackson over Kelly this week? Do you think that Jackson is somebody that you should be starting?
Yeah, I do. I do like Jackson over Kelly. Should you be starting him? Because it is going to be a split, or maybe like a 55-45 split, or maybe even 50-50, because if we don't know how healthy Jackson is. So do you have to start him? No. Worth a start in deeper leagues. Or if you're hurting at running back, I think he's like a borderline RB2.
Yeah, and the reason I say he's, the question of whether you should start him is because the matchup is Jacksonville, right? That's a pretty good matchup. If it was a tougher matchup, I would say let's not worry too much about it. But I think this could be a spot where you play him, especially, again, you're going off a guy like Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, all these running backs hurt. I mean, Justin Jackson's probably looking pretty good compared to probably what's left on the waivers. And then last but not least, Jeff Wilson. And then you got JaMychal Hasty, these guys who you wouldn't have thought twice about, but you know what? Raheem Mostert's hurt. Everybody else is hurt. Do you think Hasty's going to get run kind of like he did? But last week he got, I think, 9 carries, but it was only at the very end of the game. It was pretty much like garbage time for them. Do you think Wilson is better spot?
Between those two, I think I prefer Hasty. I still think McKinnon will get most of the work. He won't get like that 90+% work he got a few weeks ago. But I still think McKinnon's the guy. Wilson next, Hasty next, and then Wilson. Coming off injury, hard to trust a guy getting a big workload. So that would be the order I would put him in. But obviously Wilson being in the mix definitely hurts both McKinnon and Hasty.
And that's kind of the problem. You're talking about 3 running backs, all of whom were not just backups, but remember, it's supposed to be Mostert, Tevin Coleman, and then McKinnon, and then Wilson, and then Hasty. You're talking about number 3, 4, and 5 running backs in the pecking order for a team that always, uses a committee always, right? That's just how it is. And Wilson will get goal line touches maybe and short yardage, and McKinnon will get all the receptions, and then Hasty will come in once in a while. So it's your typical undesirable committee and hot hand approach. And it's a bad matchup with New England. So, I mean, hopefully you don't have to start any of them, really. Any breaking news from the wire? I think that's all our official in and out for this week. Anything new?
No, I think we got it. We ready to start answering questions?
Absolutely. And guys, again, if you haven't right now, don't feel bashful. Hit us up with a question. That's what we're here for, right? And we're going to be here at least for the hour, not longer. Depends how many questions we got. So drop your question in the comments, no matter what it is, what position. No league too big or small. All right. So give us your questions right now and we'll get to it.
Yeah. And guys, just a real quick reminder. If you ask a question, please specify if it's PPR, half PPR, non-PPR, because that definitely makes a difference, especially when you're asking like between positions. So just a little word there. And don't forget to hit subscribe, because at the top of the hour, we're giving away that Patrick Mahomes autograph plaque. So let's jump right into it. Our first question comes from Heisenberg. He says, who would you sit between Claypool, Odell Beckham, or DJ Chark? I assume you have to sit one of those guys.
You have to sit one of those guys. Okay, Claypool, Beckham, and
Chark.
I know you'll probably say kind of I feel like last week we had a similar questions, these guys. I think Chark is just the one that has the biggest question marks around him. And I'm not just talking about, these comments he's making and about the offense, whatever, but he's not 100% healthy, even though he may not roll this week with a injury designation. That whole offense is, it's just been very inconsistent. So like we know Chark will get targets, but at some point those targets actually have to, turn into something, right? Like AJ Green got 13 targets in week 1. It didn't matter. He only caught 3 of them. So I feel like Chark is the most volatile there. So I would probably keep him on the bench.
Yeah, I agree. I would start Claypool and Odell. All right. GRM 114 asks, pick 2 between Jacobs, Gio Bernard, Drake, or Jamal Williams.
Who would have thought we'd get this question? Man, that's just that's such a 2020 question. I know Jacobs it's so tough because, Tampa Bay has given up 2.8 yards per carry, right? One of the toughest run defenses. And as far as I know, the entire offensive line of the Raiders is still,
no, they're good. They're good to go. Other than Trent Brown, who is on the COVID-19 list, okay. The rest of the offensive line is okay. They're good to go. They're going to play.
Yeah, there was one point. It's like you just can't start Jacobs with. Okay, so Trent Brown, that still hurts, but yeah, at least they have an offensive line, right? Okay, man, it's hard for me to bench him outright just because we know he's the workhorse. He's going to get the carries. He's going to get any touchdowns they get on the ground, and he does get involved in the passing game. So, to me, I might still keep Jacobs in, and I love Will. If Aaron Jones is out, like he doesn't suit up at all, then I'm starting Jamal Williams just because he'll get a ton of touches and the matchup is great.
Yeah, I agree. Those would be my 2, Jacobs and Jamal Williams. Although I do really like Gio, but like you said, the matchup with Jamal Williams is too great. Obviously, if Aaron Jones somehow plays, then you can go to Gio over Jamal Williams.
And the problem with this, we've seen Gio, we set up for this before, where he's the guy, and it doesn't mean he's gonna, get 25 carries. That's not what he does. That's not what he's for. They're gonna just pass the ball 60 times. I guarantee it, right? The Bengals have shown they'll let Burrow just sling it. So I feel like, Bernard would have a nice game. He's not going to run for 100 yards. I don't think he's going to get as many touches as you would like. So that's why I prefer Williams.
Yes, I agree. Okay. Shane Kelly asks, would you start Latavius Murray over Deebo Samuel in standard scoring? Ooh, this is interesting.
No, I get the thinking behind that because Carolina, you always talk about how you got to start running backs against Carolina, right? And we know that those receivers are out. So yeah, Murray is actually a sneaky play here, but Deebo is going to get his touches even in the backfield. And I know I get it, right? I get it. Like this is the worst matchup for wide receivers and it's the best matchup for running backs, but who's guaranteed a higher share of touches? It's probably Deebo. And he's just more explosive. He's more likely to do something with it. In standard scoring, you're hoping more for a touchdown than, reception total. You know what I mean? So that's really close, though.
That's kind of why I lean with Murray because it is standard. In PPR, I would go with Deebo, but in standard, I think I might go with Murray because against Carolina with no Michael Thomas, no Emmanuel Sanders. I got to think it's going to be a bunch of Kamara dump-offs, and it's going to be a bunch of Latavius Murray runs, and he always has a chance to punch it in at the goal line. It is close. I agree with you. It is very close, but I think in standard, I would play Murray.
I would say if you're looking for, the safe few points, maybe get Samuel, but I don't know. To me, it's just a trusting. I just don't trust Sean Payton because he always does what you don't expect, so.
That's fair. All right. That guy, Kevin, asks, Hawkinson or Hunter Henry in full PPR?
I'm going Hawkinson. If Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are both healthy on the field, Henry's a nice but not elite tight end choice. Hawkinson's matchup, you can't pass that up. I have him, I think, as number 3 tight end this week.
Yeah, I agree. Although I really like Hunter Henry a lot this week too, but I like Hawkinson slightly more. And then, are we worried for any of the Chiefs players in the snow? I can tell you,
they've done that before.
Yeah, I believe it's my belief that the whole weather thing is way blown out of proportion. I think the big weather you got to worry about is high winds. That's the weather you got to really worry about. Snow, nah, I'm fine with it. Trivial Problems asks, am I crazy for starting T. Higgins over Chark in PPR?
Not at all. We kind of just talked about this. Chark is not a guaranteed, wide receiver 2 anymore. He's a wide receiver 3, but guess what? So is T. Higgins. And I just said, I think without Mixon, they're going to pass the ball a lot. Cleveland's secondary is definitely, very easy to expose. So I know the question, and you talked about this earlier in the week, is who's going to get Denzel Ward? Well, looking this up on PFF, between AJ Green and T. Higgins, it's pretty evenly split. Who's on the right side, who's on the left side? It's like 41 to 37%. So they're both going to get him. They're both not going to get him. And I think they're both going to get a fair amount of targets. I think this is going to be a game where you see Cincinnati throw the ball a lot. So I don't know. It's a slam dunk. I like him better than Chark, but I do like him. So I don't know. I think knowing you probably go with Higgins, right?
Oh yeah, definitely go with Higgins. I mean, when they played in week 2, Denzel Ward shadowed AJ Green a lot. I don't know if he will now, if he will this week, but that's something to think about. But again, yeah, Chark, I'd rather take Higgins over Chark.
And just looking this up real quick, sorry, it's funny. I always look at my rankings. So I set my rankings and I got to update them Sunday morning. So I'm kind of like doing it on the fly here. I have Chark and Higgins 28 and 29 at wide receiver, just for reference. So, I mean, that is as close as a call as you can get. So I think Higgins is probably a little bit of a safer play.
All right. Well, here's another close call for you. I have a feeling this is going to be tough for you. Melon Felon 44 asks, Jamal Williams or Antonio Gibson? I know you like both these guys a lot this week.
Yeah. Man, I mean, I do like Gibson. I'm holding out hope for Gibson, not because I like the player. And I wasn't, all over him in the preseason. I'm not, I'm kind of slowly, accepting that he could be the RB1 there. But I think if Jones isn't going to play or is going to be very limited, I think you got to go Williams this week.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the matchup for Gibson is really good, but so is the matchup for Jamal Williams. In fact, the matchup for Jamal Williams is probably better. And if Jones isn't playing, you got to think, even though I know people are excited about A.J. Dillon, you got to think Jamal Williams is going to have the bulk of the work in that game. Yeah. So, whereas Gibson is, giving up touches to J.D. McKissick. So, yeah, Jamal Williams. If Aaron Jones is out, right? Okay, AK asks, pick 2 in PPR, Mike Williams, Justin Jackson, Jamal Williams, and Josh Jacobs. I think we are going to both agree on this one, but let's hear your take on that.
Yeah, I think not Jackson, just because, he's in a timeshare and, we don't know how many receptions he'll get. I know he got most of them going, that last game, but he's not Austin Eckler. All right. So I would scratch him off. I do like Mike Williams, especially this week, but I think you got to start Williams. And the
Jamal, last one was you say you got to start Jamal. You got to start Jamal Williams, right? Not Mike Williams.
Yeah, I should say Jamal Williams, and then the last one was Jacobs.
Yeah,
I can't bench Jacobs. I don't think, just because he's going to, give you that higher floor than Mike Williams.
I agree. It's Jamal Williams, even though I do like Mike Williams as well. It's Jamal Williams and Josh Jacobs, and in that one. Okay, Eric Hill. Justin Jackson, DeAndre Swift, Gibson, Kenyon Drake. Who has the highest floor and the highest ceiling for standard scoring?
Standard scoring. Okay. The highest floor is not DeAndre Swift just because he's with the Lions. I almost feel, and I know you've been off Drake all year. I almost feel like Drake might have the highest floor in standard just because he's the one who gets all the carries. He's going to be the guy who gets the touches on the ground. The question is, how many touches does he get against Seattle? This is a game we're expecting it's going to be, back and forth in the passing game, right? But I feel like the highest floor might be Drake just because he also has a good chance of scoring you a touchdown. The highest ceiling, say him again. Oh, there's like 5 guys there.
Justin Jackson, DeAndre Swift, Antonio Gibson, and Drake.
I'd say the highest ceiling is probably Swift.
Really? Interesting. I do agree with you on Drake being the floor as much as that makes me vomit in my mouth. But I think Gibson has the highest ceiling in this matchup. I think I know Swift, got it going last week, and the Lions have been talking about, oh yeah, we're going to get him involved more. But you say you can't trust Sean Payton. I can't trust Matt Patricia and the Lions backfield, right? This could be a week where Adrian Peterson randomly gets 20 touches and DeAndre Swift is just sitting on the sidelines. So I think Gibson has the highest ceiling. If I had to pick.
Yeah, Swift definitely doesn't have the highest floor, that's for sure. Because he's but I feel like if for some reason this week is one of those weird weeks where like Patricia does like what he's supposed to do, like last week, and gives Swift the ball instead of AP. I mean, we've seen what he can do. I think we've seen that Swift's ceiling is, and we haven't seen Gibson's ceiling yet. So
that's fair.
Yeah, but it's close. Fair. I mean, it's close.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, Matt Dean asks, pick 2 in PPR. AJ Green, Corey Davis. Is Corey Davis? He's not even playing, is he? He's on COVID IR, isn't he? Or is he playing?
I think he's off the list. I think he's playing.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't even catch that news. AJ Green, Corey Davis, Traquan Smith, Latavius Murray, or Le'Veon Bell.
And this is full PPR, you said, or no?
Full PPR, and you got to pick 2.
Pick 2. Man, and you know what? I like Corey Davis because that whole what I really like, which almost makes me vomit, not just in my mouth but outwardly, is Ryan Tannehill. Just because he's got AJ Brown, we know is legit. Corey Davis is back, and he's having a solid season when he does play. Jonnu Smith, I mean, and this Steelers defense is vulnerable to the pass we've seen. So I really like Tannehill this week. Corey Davis is a little riskier though, so I probably would have to scratch him. Latavius Murray, full PPR. I'd probably prefer a receiver. So can you say them all again?
Well, the ones you haven't scratched, it would be AJ Green, Traquan Smith, or Le'Veon Bell.
Wow. I might have to unscratch somebody there. I like AJ Green. I would start him. Le'Veon Bell, I've already said I think he was one of my must sits, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you can't start Le'Veon Bell this week. Man, I don't know. That second one, Traquan Smith is just so tough. Did I say him over Murray already?
No.
Or did I say Murray?
Nope, you didn't. AJ Green's the only one you've given a vote of confidence to. I don't even know.
Okay.
This is
maybe
This is tough because these are guys that are like, this is like a deeper league, right? Probably a deeper league where you're like, well,
I might have to reverse. I might have to say Green and Murray then.
Yeah, I think those would be my choices too, or maybe even Traquan Smith and Murray. I do like Murray because I think Murray has a chance to find the end zone again in this matchup. And with no Sanders and no Thomas, I think he's going to get. I could see him getting 10 to 15 touches in this game, and in this matchup, that's pretty good. The reason I might go Smith over Green is just for ceiling, because when you're looking at guys this deep, you're not looking for 6 points, 8 points. Like any of these guys can get you 6 to 8 points. You want somebody who comes out of nowhere and gets you 20, and that's why I like Murray. That's why I like Murray, because he can find the end zone once or twice, right, in this game for sure. And that's why I like Traquan Smith, because he can always hit that home run ball. AJ Green,
right.
Yeah, he's nice, but he doesn't really have that ceiling. Same with Corey Davis. Same with Le'Veon Bell this week. So I like Traquan Smith and Latavius Murray just for their ceilings. Because I think
Yeah, and I say you could just stack Chiefs and then Saints and then see what happens. You're guaranteed to get somebody who gets touches unless it's just all Alvin Kamara and then you're really screwed. But I mean, it's almost like you're trying to predict what's Sean Payton going to do, and then you're in a bad spot. So yeah, but Green is also risky. So I mean,
they're all risky, right? That's why.
Yeah.
All right. Tony Dutton asks, Bobby Trees is odds Robert Woods. Come on. Hey, look. You can't bring in the young kid jargon here. We're not with the young kid jargon. Bobby Trees, Robert Woods versus Chicago, or Brandon Cooks versus Green Bay half PPR. Ooh, I know who I like here.
Oh man, this is interesting. Gut says you got to go Woods, but we know Chicago is, I already talked about, second toughest against wide receivers. And I think Woods was a little banged up in practice this week. And not that that matters too much. I think I have to start with Woods. I can't go Cooks over Woods.
I'm rolling the dice with Brandon Cooks. This is a great matchup. This should be a super high scoring game. I know it's tough to bench Robert Woods, and I know they're going to get Robert Woods involved in like end arounds and screens, kind of like what they do with Deebo Samuel in San Francisco, which will help with the matchup a bit. But still, this Chicago defense is no joke. I'd rather play. And Cooks, he looks more involved now, and with Bill O'Brien gone, the offense as a whole looks way better, like more like what we expected. So I'm going to go with Brandon Cooks here.
Yeah, Cooks is probably the smarter play, but it's just tough to do.
And by the way, Friday Morris, thank you for the compliment. Appreciate that. All right. We're back to Heisenberg. We already did that, Heisenberg. We already answered that one for you. It's sit DJ Chark. Okay. AK asks, if you had to drop one guy between Damian Harris and Mike Williams, who would you drop PPR? This is pretty easy.
Drop? Yeah, it's Harris. What you should do is try to trade Mike Davis because Christian McCaffrey is going to come back in another week or two, supposedly. So, I mean, you got to take advantage while the window is still open. And it is, because there's so many running backs that are hurt. Somebody's going to gladly take Mike Davis and think that they're getting a steal if you get a kind of a low end wide receiver one in exchange. And then a couple of weeks from now, you'll be laughing when you have that receiver and Mike Davis is barely seeing the field. So,
yes, I agree. All right. Cody Tardif asks, PPR, David Montgomery. I think we're both going to agree on this, but David Montgomery, Gio Bernard, or Jamal Williams, pick two.
It's going to be the last two, right? Because the first one isn't really involved as a pass catcher. It's not a good matchup. I like Montgomery, the player, more than most, but not this week.
Yeah, the only way you play Montgomery is if Aaron Jones does play, and then there's risk that Jamal Williams will only get his usual 8 to 10 touches. Then you got to play Montgomery. But if Aaron Jones is out, yeah, it's no doubter Gio and Jamal Williams. All right, Baki Boys, interesting name, asks, Chark or Williams or Jackson in the flex? I'm not sure what Williams. I'm going to assume Jamal. Maybe Mike. I'm not sure.
We'll pretend it is, and
let's address it from both sides. So Chark or Mike Williams or Justin Jackson in his flex, and he didn't say it.
If it's between Mike Williams and Chark, because to me I'd rather have one of those two guys over Justin Jackson, just because Jackson has been banged up, and that's just a questionable running game. Again, it just depends how much you trust Chark. I'm seeing he's going to play. He's been battling an ankle injury, which of course is not good for a receiver or a running back. That matchup, again, I don't love the matchup because Chargers have a good secondary. They haven't really graded out very well this year. They have so many injuries on their defense, but it's still not a great spot for him. And Mike Williams, on the other hand, with the Jaguars secondary, that is a good spot. So I might actually lean Mike Williams.
Yeah, between those three, I would lean Mike Williams as well. Now, if it's Jamal Williams, I think we both agree Jamal Williams, right?
Yeah, to me, again, we're assuming Jones either won't play, which it looks like he won't, or he's barely going to play. So, yeah, Jamal Williams for sure.
And actually, this just came in, I guess, a few minutes ago from Adam Schefter. Packers running back Aaron Jones officially is inactive today. So you can now play Jamal Williams everywhere you have him with confidence. Don't have to
Yeah.
worry.
So all the questions with Jamal Williams, if it's asking between him and somebody, yes, Jamal Williams. Now AJ Dillon becomes a lot more interesting. So again, depending on whether you know, either have a chance of scooping up last minute as a free agent, or if you've been stashing him, that becomes an interesting play. We have no idea how much they're going to use him, if not. But again, trying to interpret the language of one of those head coaches who is not known as a big fat liar, unlike, you know, let's say Sean McVay or Bruce Arians or one of those guys who you have to believe the opposite of what they say. With LaFleur, I think, you know, when they say they want to see what he can do, well, they're going to have to, because they only got 2 running backs now. I don't think they're going to get Dexter Williams involved. So we could see, you know, Dylan get 15 carries, or we could see him just get a handful. So it's still definitely risky, but, you know, against this defense, it might be worth a shot.
Yeah, and we know the Packers aren't one of those offenses that run out a guy 25 times a game like Derrick Henry with the Titans. So we know AJ Dillon's going to be mixed in. The thing is, how much, and is he going to get work in the passing game, or is it just going to be, you know, between the tackles? Before we move on to more questions, I'm going to be greedy, and I'm going to ask you a start sit question for my home league, my 10-team home league team. Now that Aaron Jones is officially out, do I start Jamal Williams or Tyler Lockett in my flex? PPR, full PPR.
Okay, to kind of piggyback off what we just talked about too, the thing with Dillon is he's a bigger back and bruiser. You know, everyone loved him off the combine because he's like 247, but yet he ran one of the fastest times, like at a 4.5. So we know what he can do between the tackles, but is he going to be a pass catcher? No, not really. Jamal Williams the other day caught like 9 passes. They're going to give him those looks too. And that's what makes Aaron Jones valuable. So that's why I like Jamal Williams so much. It's not just the Houston's run defense is terrible, but Williams is now going to get the majority of carries plus the receptions out of the backfield. So he's got the higher floor than Lockett, believe it or not. Now Lockett could always go off and have, you know, 3 touchdowns like he's done before, but I would probably start Jamal Williams.
Well, that's who I'm starting. And yeah, it's but I'm in like a few fantasy football Facebook groups, and I've seen that exact question: Jamal Williams or Tyler Lockett, and I have that exact situation. All right, let's get back to the questions that matter, and that's your guys' question, not my question. So that guy Kevin asks, who would be my best option out of these dudes? I like that you use dudes. As a Californian, I like that you use dudes for my flex in full PPR. Jamal Williams, we know that's almost a must start. David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, or Justin Jackson. So it's Jamal Williams.
Jamal Williams. If just one of those, then yeah. And I think it's almost in that order because David Montgomery would probably be my next choice.
Yeah. So. No, Jamal Williams, especially now that Aaron Jones is officially out, lock him in. Jay Dizzle asks, Odell Beckham? Wow, is this where we're at in 2020? Odell Beckham or David Singletary for flex?
Devin Singletary or Odell Beckham? You got to go Beckham. I mean,
yeah, you got to go.
Singletary's, I mean, he is what he is. He's never going to get, 20 carries in a game. He's never going to be the focal point. Yeah, it's definitely Beckham.
Yeah, definitely Beckham. Dirt Bike Addict. Good morning, Dirt Bike Addict. Full PPR, pick 2. DeAndre Swift, Allen Robinson, Mike Evans. Man, this is where we're at 2020, where we're asking him.
What was the second one?
Mike Evans. DeAndre Swift, Allen Robinson. I mean, you got to play Allen Robinson or Mike Evans.
Yeah.
Even though it is a tough matchup, I think you still got to play Allen Robinson, right?
Yeah, Allen Robinson I mean.
And then you got to pick
last week, I think was, huh?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think last week was the only really letdown game he kind of had. And it wasn't that bad. I mean, talk about a high floor. It's Robinson. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you got to pick one between DeAndre Swift and Mike Evans. I mean, who would have thought at week 7, we'd be discussing, do you play DeAndre Swift or Mike Evans?
You know what? People are going to be selling Mike Evans left and right now that Antonio Brown is there, and he's already been kind of disappointing. But Mike Evans is what he is. I mean, he's boom bust. That's what it is. Look at the total season long numbers. It does not tell the story. I mean, he's going to have a monster game mixed in with some really bad, duds. So
do you start
him this week? Yeah, I mean, the Raiders this week, it's not I don't think if Godwin's healthy, then I don't know. I don't think that I love Evans this week. So, but I think you start him over Swift.
You start Swift over him?
Is this full PPR?
Yeah, full PPR.
Yeah, I'd still start Evans.
Yeah, I think you still got to start Evans. Because both these guys are boom bust, right? Because again, there's no guarantee that DeAndre Swift is going to get the work that he got last week, right? It was 1 week. It could
Exactly.
easily go back to the way it was, and he gets a handful of touches. So these guys are both boom bust. But give me Evans, who Brady has been looking to in the red zone. Now, when Antonio Brown is there, this might be a different story. But right now, give me Evans as well. G McPhee 123. This is a good one. Gio Bernard or James Robinson?
Ooh. Now that's interesting because Robinson has been kind of locked in RB2 every week. Gio Bernard is interesting this week. I would still lean toward the guy I know is going to get all of the touches, and that's James Robinson, just because there's nobody else. And Chris Thompson, not that he was cutting into his work, but now he's out. I think he's on the COVID list. So I would still go with Robinson.
This is close. This is close for me. Oh, man. I do like both these guys. This is really close for me. James Robinson's just been so underwhelming in these really good matchups lately.
Yeah, and it's not a great matchup. Chargers are, fairly tough on the run. Not locked down, but
I think I'm going to go Gio Bernard only because even if Burrow does throw up 40 times this week, which I think he will, 40, 50 times this week, I think he will. Gio Bernard will get his share of dump offs, which I think could give him the slight edge over Robinson. But it's very, very close. Very close. Gus says, Dylan, the new shiny toy. You're right, Gus. The new shiny toy who probably is going to get you 5 fantasy points this week. But you never know. You never know. Trivial problems. Dylan going to vulture touchdown. Just watch. He could. He definitely could. But I think it's okay because like Pierre said, Jamal Williams is going to be involved enough in the passing game that even if he doesn't get a touchdown, I think he's going to have tons of fantasy value anyways. That guy, Kevin, so is Jamal Williams a better start than James Robinson? Yes, definitely. Right?
Yeah. And now that we know for sure Aaron Jones is out, yeah, I've nudged him up to my ranks. So let me tell you, because this is a work in progress, always Sunday morning. I got Jamal Williams as my number 11 running back right now. So that tells you something. And I got Robinson 13.
Yeah, I agree. Jamal Williams, top 12 for me with no Aaron Jones. So I'm right there with you. Melon Felon, 44. Gio Bernard or Justin Jackson in PPR?
Bernard.
Yeah, definitely Bernard. We know he's going to be basically the guy. Whereas Justin Jackson, we know Joshua Kelly's still there. We don't know how healthy he is. Trivial problems. Not sure if you guys missed it or aren't doing waiver questions. We'll do a waiver question. Would you drop Tim Patrick to waivers to pick up John Brown? He doesn't need Tim Patrick this week. PPR.
No, because John Brown hasn't been playing. This is, if anything, it hurts because I know that there's a good connection there with Josh Allen and John Brown, but this is another chance for Gabriel Davis to get involved, right? And to show what he can do. He's a talented guy. And I don't think that Buffalo pass offense, we know it was going to regress. We've already seen it. So I know against the Jets, yeah, they'll do all sorts of things, but I don't think John Brown is necessarily a surefire starter every week going forward. Tim Patrick, believe it or not, might be. Again, they have these tough matchups, but Drew Lock is back. If Mel Gordon gets suspended at some point, which he should, I don't know why he hasn't yet. They're going to rely more on the passing game. And guess what? Tim Patrick, it's not Jerry Jeudy. Tim Patrick is their top receiver right now, and he's been performing. So I kind of like Tim Patrick doing John Brown things in that offense.
That's Tim Patrick doing John Brown things. I like that, man. That's that hurts, but yeah, it's funny about I almost tweeted this out about the Melvin Gordon thing. It's like, so we're just going to pretend like he wasn't driving drunk and going like double the speed limit in a 35-mile-per-hour zone. We're just going to that just never happened. We're just moving on from that.
NFL.
We're just moving on from that. No big deal. Never happened. He said he was sorry, so I guess that's okay. He said he was sorry. And
well, there you go. He did community service for a couple hours, and that's it.
I don't even think he did community service. I think he just went to practice the next day. And then he got sick, and then it was like,
he went on a Zoom and he apologized and they recorded it. So there you go. That's proof.
There we go. All right. What do you think about Antonio Gibson? I think we both like Antonio Gibson this week. It's a good matchup. Obviously, the issue with Antonio Gibson is that J.D. McKissic is getting a lot of the work. Like they're kind of splitting. Him and J.D. McKissic are splitting, which hurts the ceiling, of course. But I think he's a good, safe floor play this week. You agree?
Yeah, pretty safe just because he's the main guy still. And, I think he will get more involved as the season goes on. And, the schedule does get a little more favorable. Obviously, this weekend against Dallas, it's that defense has been terrible. So, yeah, I still kind of like Gibson. And, when it comes to the red zone, he's getting the touches. So, yeah, I think Gibson's kind of that low end RB2, this week because there's just other guys with better matchups. But yeah, I like Gibson. I wouldn't give up on him. Some people are ready to give up. He's not going to do it. Well, if you expected him, to be a fantasy star, breakout star, nobody really should have expected that, right? I mean, so.
Yeah, I agree. And then we got Tony Dutton asks, this is an interesting one. AJ Dillon or Chase Edmonds in half PPR?
Okay, half PPR, because if it was full PPR, you have to go Edmonds. I still would go with Edmonds just because, all right, so when Chase Edmonds, is involved and does, positive things, it wasn't last week when we thought he would because of the matchup, but that game didn't go at all like we thought it would go. So when they have to pass more, right, when they're either in a close game or from behind, he's going to be more involved, right? And Drake is going to be getting the ball on the ground, like last week when they were all over Dallas. So this is a game against Seattle. Seattle's going to put up points. They're going to have to throw it to Edmonds and get things going there. So I would say Edmonds, especially because we have no idea what Dillon's going to really do.
Yeah, I think you got to go Edmonds. But it's not a great matchup. Like Seattle's not, like people think, oh, Seattle, terrible defense, but they're actually pretty good against the run, horrendous against the pass. But still, I think he'll be more involved than Dillon, especially in the passing game. And it is half PPR, which can make a difference. And we know
that's exactly it because Edmonds is involved as a pass catcher, and that's his value. And so that's why I like him, even better than Drake in this matchup.
Yeah, and they use him around the goal line too. Like, so he'll get chances to score as well. All right, Heisenberg has another one. Half PPR. Latavius Murray or Le'Veon Bell?
Latavius Murray.
Yeah, I think so. It's we don't know how involved Le'Veon Bell is going to be. And like I said, I think Murray's in line for 10 to 15 touches this week against a really bad rush defense, and could always find the end zone. All right, this is right up your alley right here. This is a Pierre question, no doubt about it.
All right.
PPR, Robert Tonyan or Hunter Henry?
All right, because it was a tight end. That was you made it sound really enticing. By the way, fun fact for those who
what's that?
Fun fact for those who don't spend nearly as much time on fantasy football Twitter, that Robert Tonyan's name is actually supposed to be Tunyon.
That's true.
Which is pronounced the same as Funyon. It's an easy way to remember it because the bag is green and yellow, just like the Packers. So I forgot the question. Tunyon or Henry?
Yes. Yeah. So if Tunyon's PR person watches this, which I'm sure they will, I apologize for mispronouncing his name. I will get it right from now on. But anyways, your choice: Tunyon or Hunter Henry, PPR.
And I just learned that like 2 days ago. It's got to be Hunter Henry. I like Hunter Henry a lot. Top 10 tight end this week. Tunyon had that huge game, but Devontae Adams is back and healthy. Lazard is coming back soon. I hope. I really hope because I've stashed him in a couple of places. But no, it has to be Henry.
I agree. Okay. This is really right up your alley because this is a kicker question, and Pierre loves kickers. All right. Is it wise to wait to pick up the Chicago Rams kicker on Monday if that means I get to hold and see what a bench running back does over, say, picking up Fairbairn, the Houston kicker, early and dropping a lot of running back? Yes. Like you can wait and pick up one of those kickers, I think, right?
Other than having Fairbairn in this matchup?
Yeah, so basically what he's asking is, should he play Fairbairn and drop a potential lotto running back, like maybe, I don't know, some guy who's maybe a backup right now, but if there's an injury, could become like an every week must start, or wait till Monday night, keep that running back, see what happens, and then pick up one of the Monday night kickers, either the Bears kicker or the Rams kicker, who I don't even know who they are, to be honest.
I mean, it depends who the running back is, but running backs are always more valuable than kickers. So yeah, it's not like Fairbairn's been lighting it up, and that's not like it's a great matchup. So yeah, and I would probably go with Cairo Santos just because I mean, Rams, honestly, we might not know who the kicker is after next week because they added Kai Forbath to compete, which is not a good sign when a kicker has to have somebody brought in for competition. So I wouldn't trust Sloman. I would just go with Cairo Santos.
Wow, you know who the kickers are. I'm impressed. By the way, guys, 15 minutes, we're going to be doing our giveaway, Patrick Mahomes autograph plaque. So if you haven't yet, get subscribed. And by the way, YouTube doesn't tell me everybody who's subscribed. So if you do subscribe, or if you have subscribed this morning, type in the chat that you subscribe so I can add you to the list and we can do that random giveaway. I want to make sure you guys all have a chance to win that. Where are we at here? Kicker question. Okay. Here's an interesting one. Jalen Reagor or Denzel Mims rest of the season PPR? Who would you prefer?
Okay, rest of the season. It's got to be Reagor because he's not a Jet.
He's not a Jet. Deshaun Jackson now probably done for the season, if not most of the season. Yeah, yep. He's gonna. We already saw in his one game that he actually SR got you. Thank you. That he actually, has upside. So I agree. It's got to be Jalen Reagor. Here's another tight end question for you, but I think this one's much easier than the last one. Jonnu Smith or Darren Fells? Did you get that? Did you get that?
Jonnu Smith or Darren Fells? That's easy. Yeah. It's got to be Jonnu Smith now he's playing.
Jonnu Smith is like an every week must start at tight end, in my opinion, when he's healthy.
Yeah. And that's the question is, was he ready to go? And as far as I know, he's 100% full go. So you got to start him, period.
Oh, this question is painful for me because I'm a big Juju guy, but Dronal, apologize if I mispronounce your name, Raphael asks Juju or Tyler Boyd?
Man, this point in time, I mean, can we trust Juju? No. Tyler Boyd, this matchup is pretty solid, so it's got to be Boyd.
Yeah, as much as it pains me, I agree. It's got to be Tyler Boyd. Ugh, I was so high on Juju coming into the season. It just hasn't happened, and yeah. Mm-hmm. That guy Kevin, what's your opinions on Derrick Henry's and Allen Robinson's matchups?
Derrick Henry, bad. Allen Robinson,
also bad.
Again, not their value, but they're just the matchup itself. I mean, obviously against running backs for Derrick Henry, it's bad. And then Allen Robinson, it's not good, but it's not as bad. But that said, of course, if you had to pick between the two, which I don't know that that's what you're asking, but I mean, there's no doubt at all. I don't care who the matchup is. You're starting Derrick Henry no matter what. So.
I think you got to start both those guys. I mean, obviously Derrick Henry, it doesn't matter because he's going to get 25 touches and he's going to get all the goal line work. So even in a bad matchup, doesn't matter. And same with Allen Robinson. I think even in a bad matchup, I think you still got to start him because Foles just peppers him with targets. So, it could be one of those weeks where he gets 13 targets and only catches 6 or 7 passes, but 6 or 7 passes for, 60 yards, 70 yards, assuming he doesn't find the end zone, is still a solid week. And he's obviously got upside for even more of that. That's like kind of his floor, right? So I think you got to start Allen Robinson.
Yeah, I mean, both are no-brain start no matter what. You don't get too cute, right? You say, okay, well, let me put Gio Bernard over Derrick Henry. No, don't ever do that. He's one of those few players, and there's very few, especially at running back, that you just don't think about it. But Derrick Henry's one of those guys. And he's always able to break off a 75-yard, touchdown run in the fourth quarter, which he's done several times. So yeah, you can't overthink it. But I've said before, I like Tannehill in the passing game a lot in this matchup, just because the Steelers, I think, are intentionally becoming a funnel defense where they try to lock down the running game. And then, that leaves them a little more vulnerable, to the pass.
Yes. I think we're pretty much down to our last questions here. Again, guys, if you subscribe, drop it in the comments so I can add you if you're not in there. Or if you haven't yet, subscribe. We're going to be doing it in no time here. Similar to that question, Juju Boyd, he added in Corey Davis. Does that change your mind or still Tyler Boyd?
Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, still Tyler Boyd. Great matchup. Tyler Boyd was one of my must-start wide receivers this week, if that tells you. And Juju, I don't know, Maybe Juju should have been one of my must-sits. Actually, you know who should have been my must-sit is Landry, which, by the way, I have both those guys in our flex. Both of those guys I was really high on coming to the season. So,
And Landry, got to give him credit for being out there each week. He's been playing with a broken rib. I mean, we knew he wasn't quite right, but there's a reason why he isn't doing exactly what he, is capable of. That Cleveland offense, you really have to start to worry about because, again, Chubb is already out. Now Hooper is out. Landry is not 100%, which he's now admitted. So it doesn't mean that Beckham becomes all of a sudden guy who's going to get peppered with targets because it's still Baker Mayfield, who's also not 100% at quarterback. So it just could be a mess. The only guy I really trust is going to be Kareem Hunt going forward.
Yeah. Here's a quarterback one for you. And you'll like this one, I think. Cam Newton or Justin Herbert? It's good.
Oh, I'm going Herbert, actually. I love him this week. Probably way too much. I have him as a top 10 quarterback. Cam Newton's kind of right there. He's definitely startable. But there's also risk. I mean, obviously it's not a good matchup with San Francisco, so I'm going Herbert.
Yeah, I agree. I like the upside of Herbert this week. Although it feels like this could be one of those weeks where like the whole world likes Justin Herbert and then he goes out there and throws like 3 interceptions or something. And because that seems to happen a lot when everybody loves a guy so much, but I agree. I like Herbert. Wookie Z, is Juju droppable with one more bad game? I mean, I always depends who you're dropping him for, but
yeah, it depends.
It'd be tough for me to drop him. But if you have like a really high upside guy on the waiver wire, then maybe.
And I don't expect him to be traded, but just let's wait and see what happens before the deadline, November 3rd. It's possible. I've been saying all year, basically, keep an eye on the fact that he's a free agent. It's already happening. I thought it would be maybe in the end of the season. It's already happening where he's kind of being phased, not out, but back from the offense, right? And Claypool is taking over. I didn't think it would happen this year, but already they drafted Claypool. They're molding him to be their top guy. They don't need Juju, and they're proving it already. So I guarantee, okay, I shouldn't guarantee. I have a pretty good sense that Juju won't be a Steeler next year. Yeah. It's possible that they say, hey, you know what? Let's see what we can get for him right now. And, I'm just saying I would wait and see what happens, because if Juju does happen to go to a team, that wants him as their future franchise wide receiver, well, then all of a sudden his value shoots back up again. You know what I mean? So just kind of hold for now.
Yeah, I agree. That guy, Kevin, another question for my dude, Pierre. So this one's right for you.
All right.
Is Ertz worth holding on to? He's currently in his IR spot.
I mean, if it's an IR spot and you're not, waiting for somebody else to take up that spot, it doesn't hurt to keep him in the IR spot. But honestly, 3 to 4 weeks. And then this is almost exactly what I just talked about with Juju. We kind of saw the writing on the wall when they didn't extend him. They got Goddard in place. They don't need Zach Ertz. So I never expected Ertz to be an Eagle next year. Now that he's hurt, I mean, what is he going to do when he comes back? He wasn't doing much when he was healthy, right? So I don't think you need to hold on to him. I got him actually in the Rotoballer Expert League. He was my tight end, unfortunately, which is probably why I'm sitting at, I think, 3-3, or maybe 2-4. But I just dropped him. Right now, we don't have IR spots yet, and we don't have deep benches there because it's a competitive league. But I just dropped him. I'm not holding on to him.
Yeah. All right. SR asks, T. Higgins or Gio for flex a FanDuel tournament stack. I think FanDuel is half PPR. SR, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think it's half PPR. So basically, a half PPR and in a tournament. So, looking for ceiling here. You like Higgins or Gio?
Yeah, and Gio's going to be a popular play. So that's the thing is the rest of your lineup, how chalk are you going, right? And then are you looking for that other play? T. Higgins might be that boom play. I mean, any other league, I would say it's Gio, but in a tournament, you might consider Higgins.
Okay, it's full PPR, and yeah, I think I would go Higgins in a tournament because I think Gio's going to be very high owned. And I think Higgins has just as much upside as Gio, if not even more. So I'd rather get the guy who's lower owned and, has similar or more upside.
And it's always something to go the running back, but I feel like, especially if it is full PPR, we've seen this before. Everyone thinks, okay, well, Bernard will deliver mix and value. No, it just means they're going to utilize the running back position less, and they're going to throw it more. So I do like the chances for Higgins. to contribute. We have both, like you said, Boyd is like a must start for both of us. And he was one of your top guys. And then I personally think AJ Green is kind of a smart play. I think I added him in one of my tournaments just because the price was so good. He's valued. He's a lot cheaper than T Higgins, but of course there's a lot more risk there.
Yes. All right. Brashard Perriman, Justin Jackson, Shenault, or Keelan Cole. I guess we're picking one of those guys.
All right. Assuming one of those guys. Those are all very interesting names to me. Anyone who's listened to me this year, read my articles, I like Shenault and I always like him, but I kind of like that he's been involved. But again, he's that steady, kind of boring floor play. He hasn't, scored. He's not scoring touchdowns. He hasn't had a breakout game per se. And I don't know that it's going to happen today. And then with Cole, the matchup isn't as good as it was last week. Like last week, I said I really like Cole. So I probably wouldn't pick either of those two guys. Jackson is tempting, but again, it's just we don't know how much he's going to see the field with that injury. So I might lean towards Jackson though. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I go with Justin Jackson in a good spot. I think he's going to get enough of the work to make him worthwhile. Like those other guys all come with tons of risk of doing next to nothing, right? So
yeah, Perriman's tempting. I'm not going to lie, Perriman's tempting, but yeah, I think we need to leave him as a last resort as of right now.
Yeah, we'll do a couple more here, and then we got to get going, guys. El Tato Monty, so David Montgomery, or Will Fuller at flex and PPR.
It's got to be Will Fuller, I think.
Yeah, Will Fuller. I love that whole Houston offense this week in that matchup. Will Fuller has a monster ceiling. So SR had some clarification. Should he stack? Yeah, I would stack. I think T. Higgins and Burrows is a good tournament stack, good contrarian tournament stack for sure. And then we'll do last one, and then we'll do the giveaway. Jace 300. This is another good one for you. Josh Jacobs or Antonio Gibson in full PPR.
It's still got to be Jacobs for me, even though again it's a very negative matchup. And Gibson, definitely has that ability, but we know who's going to get more touches, right? Yes. So I still lean Jacobs.
Yeah, I think you still got to play Jacobs. Opinion on Ryan Tannehill rest of the season? I love Ryan Tannehill rest of the season. He's been playing great. Okay, I lied. We'll do one more. Pick 2, Joe Kingsley. Pick 2, Singletary, Debo. Justin, I assume Justin Jackson. So you mean by that, Justin? In half PPR.
Singletary, Justin Jackson, or Debo?
Yeah, half PPR.
Let me see. You got to pick
2. So who do you eliminate, basically?
Yeah, well, I do technically, and I'm looking and sometimes I have to double check myself. I do have Singletary ahead of Justin Jackson just because of that, the question mark there with the injury and the matchup with the Jets. Singletary probably has the higher ceiling than Justin Jackson. So I'll go Singletary and Debo. I don't feel great about it, but
yeah, I kind of like Singletary a little bit this week. I think they're going to be way ahead and he'll get some run late in the game. Pick up that garbage time. I agree. Singletary and Debo. Okay, guys, you ready? Let's do the giveaway. Again, last chance. If you haven't subscribed, get subscribed. Drop it in the chat so I know. I'll give you guys like a minute here or whatever if anybody needs to subscribe. I got my random. I'm just going to do a random number generator. I got my list. I'm just going to do a number. I'm going to go to that person on the list, fair and square as can be. And, maybe it'll be you. So here we go. All right. Let me make sure I got everything set up here before I do this. Okay, Kevin. Okay. All right, here we go. The random number that was generated by Google was 25, and that is Tio Taberzi. Tio Taberzi. So if you're watching, congratulations. If you're not watching, I'll tag you in the comments, and hopefully you get this, and we can get that to you. So congratulations, Tio. And SR, thank you. You guys are amazing too. So SR said, because PR, I know you can't see the chat. He said, thanks so much. Y'all are amazing. Thank you, SR. You guys are amazing too. Thanks for joining us. We do this every Sunday. So hopefully you guys will be back here next week. And again, Tio, you're the lucky winner. So either drop us a comment or we'll drop you a comment and we'll figure it out.
All right. And thanks to all our subscribers. Again, just watching. Hopefully we've helped you out. That's our idea. Again, our end game, win. It's pretty simple. We're not going to do a comedy show, right? We're not going to, skirt around the issues, get to the point. You ask us a question, we'll give you our opinion, and hopefully it helps you out. Guarantee we will not be right 100% of the time. I also guarantee that we put in a lot more work and we have a lot more going on up here than a lot of these other analysts that you'll see that, just looking for the follows and looking for the attention. We're looking to help you win, and that's it, right? Because that's kind of why you play the game, right? What was that? Who was it? Herm Edwards? You play the game?
Edwards. You play to win the game.
I mean, it's pretty simple, right? And somebody asked about waiver wire. I do waiver wire videos every single week coming out, probably on Monday evening or Tuesday morning at the very latest. So you'll get them in time before those waivers. So look for that because I spent all day Sunday watching football, believe it or not, and then working on my waiver wire list and then starting those rankings. Chris will give you that immediate reaction as far as who to panic about, any breaking news that goes on. We always have reaction for you, and you don't have to wait an hour in to get to the point. And then, of course, start sit, talk about who you have to have in your lineup and then who you should take out based on matchups. And then, every Sunday we do this thing called Endgame Live, and we're here to help you. So even if you are done watching, guys, go ahead and give us questions. We'll still be here to help answer questions. Follow us at Endgame Fantasy on Twitter, if you do the Twitter thing, which you probably do. And of course, you can follow us on our personal accounts. I'm at Roto_Chef. He is at Chris Mangano. So we're always here to help.
All right, guys. Thank you. And good luck this week. Let's all take home that